The Australian music industry is pushed along by some fairly big associations. There's of course APRA, the Australian Performing Rights Association, and ARIA, the Australian Record Industry Association, and so the list goes on. Some fairly big players that have a big impact on our industry. Today I'm going to have a little look at associations, but also chat with Alan Gilmour, and Alan Gilmour's from the Australian Songwriters Association. Hi Alan, thanks for joining me today. As I understand it, you're the Vice President of the ASA, the Australian Songwriters Association, that's right?
I'm the Vice Chairman of the Australian Songwriters Association.
And you're still holding the purse strings as well?
Yeah, I fulfil a few roles in the organisation. Apart from being the Vice Chairman, I'm also the Financial Officer, and I'm also Editor of the ASA's e-magazine, the Australian Songwriter.
How many members do you have in the association?
The association has about 1,000 members right across Australia. We have members in every single state and territory. We're looking to find new regional coordinators throughout Australia, particularly in regional areas.
Well, hopefully some small business people watching this will be encouraged to get involved, and that might help the drive. One of the services you provide is Wax Lyrical, which is performances that you set up where singer-songwriters get direct feedback from the audience. Is that still happening?
That's correct. We hand out forms to the audience members so that it's anonymous, I guess you might say, and the audience is asked to complete forms based on the songwriting, the performance, etc., just to give a bit of feedback.
I think that's great because, I mean, we run an open mic here specifically for singer-songwriters, but other than applause or booing, which of course doesn't happen here, but there's no direct feedback.
I've found in all my years at the ASA that everybody thinks their songs are great, everybody thinks they can sing in key, everybody thinks that they can play guitar perfectly, but being on the other side, it's very interesting to hear what people actually think of your performance, and even though some of the comment sheets might be perhaps a little negative, I think it gives the performers and the songwriters the opportunity to correct what the audience sees in them, because at the end of the day they are singing for the audience.
So Alan, the competition that the ASA runs every year, how many entries do you get?
We're expecting about 4,000 this year. That's spread over 13 different categories. They range from contemporary pop to ballad to country to rock indie to plain lyrics. Actually, is a category by itself.
It's that time where I recommend another feature artist, but first a sad but true story. Recently, a major management firm based here in Melbourne with some very high-profile acts contacted me and asked if they could put a new band in the venue. Of course, I was delighted, said yes, did a lot of extra marketing, a lot of PR spin, told the support acts, or booked the support acts in on the strength that they would be supporting an act that had fairly major management. 8:15 on the night, 15 minutes after doors have opened, the band ring me directly to cancel. The reason I'm telling you this is because that same band this week was signed to that management's label. Now this really pisses me off. There's so many talented musicians out there working really hard for every opportunity, and here's a band who get the interest of a major management firm, get a gig booked by the management firm, and can't be bothered showing up. So again, I'm telling you this story because the fantastic artists that I'll be presenting every week, I can vouch for them being reliable and professional. This week's is Sarah Eida.
What if I just let it go? Gasoline and a sex that cleanse my soul. I'm sick of it all of the swine outside. I light a cigarette and throw a match to cigarette. The devil's not here, so it's 7 to heaven. Must have been a time for me to realize you had to go. I'm looking at your eyes when I fall asleep. Darker than the devil's name is black as sheep. So much for your sweet life. 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 Oh.
So if you're interested in starting an association, first you would register it with the Corporations Act, and this makes it a legal entity in its own right, which means it can own property. It can also sue and be sued without it impacting on individual members. To qualify an association, it needs to have a minimum of 5 members, needs to have liability insurance, needs to have annual financial reports and run an annual general meeting for its members, and it also needs administratively to have a public officer. So you're thinking of starting an association. Well, make sure there's a need for it, a need for members to get involved. You'll need to engage the community. Make sure you've got a strategic plan that will ensure it's sustainable moving forward, and that's a big one. Don't compete with large associations that are already out there. So don't look for a niche that's already covered by an existing association, and be really careful of founder's syndrome. Founder's syndrome is when the association takes on the identity of the founder. Often the members are friends of the founder, and they can really exclude newcomers coming into that fold. So be really careful that you don't get caught in that trap. Not good for the association. I know you have APRA AMCOS as a major sponsor. Was it hard to get them on board, or have they been on board for a long time?
Yes, they've been very, very good to us over the years. They provide the cash prize to the Songwriter of the Year of $3,000, and they also provide us with a great deal of support during the course of the songwriting contest and the year in general. So if anybody from APRA AMCOS is watching, thank you very much. We certainly do appreciate your support.
This vlog is pitched at small business in the music industry, from self-managed musician right through to manager and everything in between. What are the sponsorship opportunities for somebody to get involved on that level with the ASA? We're very happy to accept sponsorship ourselves, being a not-for-profit organisation. All they need to do is to contact us at the ASA National Office on ASA National Office at asa.com.au, and just see how we may be able to assist. Certainly the current advertisers for the 2012 Australian Songwriting Contest have their logos and their names featured on the advertising for the songwriting contest. And we also invite members of sponsoring organisations along to the National Awards Night each year, and ask them to present some of the prizes to the category winners. So we try to provide them with as much exposure as we possibly can. And you know what's great about it is you're doing something really positive for your local music industry, and in return you're getting some free spin or some free PR.
Yeah, well that's how it works, isn't it? We all try to help each other and thereby help ourselves, and it seems to be the way the industry tends to work.
Alan, given there's a lot of volunteers working with the ASA, I understand you're one of them, what do you get out of that activity? What's in it for you?
Well, I think it's the contacts. It's the people that you meet, the contacts that you make that allow you to do more things and better things.
Alan, thanks so much for your time today. I know you're a busy man.
Good. Thanks very much, Anthea.
Thanks. Thanks so much for joining me for Blonde on Music episode 2, and I'll be back next week with another instalment.